Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is December 10th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. Here you can see this cold air spilling all the way out across Pacific Ocean. You're driving a frontal system through central California into the Sierra Nevada here. Low pressure resides off the Vancouver Island, Washington coastline here, spreading moisture back up over the region here. Some very nice high elevation snowfall is occurring here as the storm system just kind of spins here off our coastline. We'll take a look at some of the details from what this system will bring across Pacific Northwest, and as well we'll take a look at the extended forecast as always. Now taking a look here, 2-meter temperature map. You can see that cold air that we saw in the infrared satellite imagery spilled out over the Pacific Ocean here. Put this into motion, you can see it marching down towards Southern California, but you can kind of see the modification of it as it moves over the relatively warm ocean water there. Now this kind of highlights the importance of the trajectory coming off of BC into Washington, Oregon. If you want lowland snow in the Willamette Valley and the Puget Sound, Southwest BC, for example, you need this trajectory to be short and quick. You don't want to spend too much time over the water here because you'll warm up and it'll keep that snow level just off the surface here and continue to pile up some of the really heavy snowfall amounts across the mountainous areas here. But just kind of giving you a little lesson here on why we need that sharp trajectory off the coastline and immediately back into the Pacific Northwest for some nice low-level snowfall. Taking a look here, a little bit closer look at things here. National Weather Service Spokane, just highlighting the refreezing, melting that you go through during the daytime, then the refreezing overnight into the morning hours here. Nice graphic here from the National Weather Service Spokane. And again, another one here from Spokane. As you can see, some of the higher terrain snowfall still continuing on in through this evening across the area here. And there might even been some pockets of freezing rain this morning across the area. National Weather Service Spokane, probably the best in the Northwest at highlighting these via these great graphics here that they put out. Now taking a look here, Pendleton, Oregon here. This might be minor or moderate here as we go through Sunday because we're going to continue to bring some moisture in the form of snowfall across Oregon here as we go through Sunday here. And that system kind of keeps us all the way through Monday morning, potentially to Monday afternoon as it's slow moving to get that moisture out of the region down there. Now taking a look down towards the Sierra Nevada, look at some of these snow totals. Carson Pass, Ebbets Pass, look at this, 60 to 80 inches, just insane snowfall amounts through the Sierra Nevada. And look at Northern California, Interstate 5, 8 to 12 inches there as well. Heads up if you're traveling on I-5, Southern Oregon through Northern California also. Big winds also for some of the Sierra Nevada here as well. Now taking a look at Seattle here, we zoom in a little bit and you can kind of see there's still winter storm warnings. These are going to expire as we go through this evening. A little bit of coastal flood advisory. We had some high tides this morning across the Puget Sound as well, and some abnormally low atmospheric pressure helped to bring a little bit of lowland flooding across the area. Now taking a look at here, there's that low pressure system. You know, watch it fill, kind of weaken, but continue to bring snowfall mainly across Oregon by the time we get into Sunday morning here. Still some remnant snowfall across BC as well, but you can see the system takes its time, kind of some wraparound moisture continuing through Oregon, Idaho, and Montana as we go all the way through Monday morning here, as you can see, then finally kicks out of the area. Then it looks like we're going to dry out and start to kick some offshore winds here across Pacific Northwest, aided by this low pressure system off the California coastline here. And then the extended here, a quick look at it. You can see the European brings some pretty cold Arctic air here down across British Columbia here and tries to bring a modified Arctic front across the region here. But this is 10 days out right now, taking it with a grain of salt, but we'll take a further look at some of the extended forecast here in a moment. Taking a look at the winds, you can see them wane as we go through today and as we go through Sunday, Monday morning now. Now watch what happens as we go into Tuesday. We start to kick these offshore winds here across the area. The gorge winds going a little bit here, not one of the bigger events, but you can see the Stampede Gap winds coming through the Cascades as well. And the general offshore pattern coming here as these northerly winds come down through BC, easterly winds across the Cascades all the way up to the coastlines here through Oregon, Washington as well. And you can see these winds pick up as we go on in through Wednesday night for the gorge here. For example, Stampede Gap blowing all the way across Puget Sound out over the ocean as well. So offshore winds coming up here, going to keep us dry here, folks. Looks like as we go on in through next week. More on that here in a moment. Taking a look at that low pressure system here, you can see it rapidly fill, but it's going to continue this precip, as we said, all the way through Monday morning. Cooler air moves in down across BC here. Now watch what happens as we go on in through mid next week here. You see some high pressure setting up across the inland areas here with this low pressure here. It gives us that gradient for these offshore winds here as we go on in through mid and later next week. Look at some of this high pressure here setting up shop with that low pressure off the coast of California here. And then we go into the future a little bit more, and you can kind of see that Arctic high start to sag south through BC with some troughing across Washington shown here. That's kind of a bit out into fantasy land there, but some some of the models are showing a cooler solution here as we go through the extended, which we'll look at here in a moment. And I just wanted to show you the movement of that Arctic air here. So you can see this cold air that spawned that system here off the coastline, moved all the way down through California here. This is 850 millibar temperatures, 5,000 foot temperature anomalies here. Now we go on to the extended a little bit here. You notice how we get some cold air pooling on the east side here with the big ridging here and warm air aloft here across the northwest portion of North America as we go through Thursday morning into Friday morning here. Then you can see the European wants to kick some more Arctic air down into British Columbia here, which would impact Pacific Northwest through the extended here. But again, taking that with a grain of salt just yet. Just kind of a little tease as of now. Now taking a look here, this is snowfall for Oregon. As that moisture kind of takes its sweet time moving across the area. Some pretty good amounts rolling across the Cascades, maybe, you know, up over 1.5 feet for some of the Oregon Cascades. Look at Bend near 7 inches, but Klamath Falls getting a nice snowfall as we go. Lesser amounts through Washington here as that system moves down. It's going to be mainly an Oregon, Idaho, Montana event as we go on in through Sunday and Monday. Now taking a look here, I wanted to show you the Sierra Nevadas here. Watch, this gets kind of ridiculous here. Look at some of these snowfall totals. Like the National Weather Service was calling for, some totals up towards 80 inches are possible across some of the Sierra Nevada. Not a good time to travel, folks, this weekend. You might want to put that off if you can. Even some snowfall for some of the higher terrain of Nevada here, central and northern Nevada anyway. Now, looking at this, wind speeds across some of the Sierras. Look at this. There's some gusts over 80 miles per hour across portions of the Sierra Nevada here, and quite a wide swath of 50+ mile per hour gusts here as we go on in through. This would be late Sunday morning. So just a really intense storm here across the higher terrain of California. Now we're going to compare the European on the left with the GFS on the right. Here goes the trough of the current storm system as we speak, marches down the coast, eventually fills and moves off to the east. Ridge starts to build over the area here. You can see this cutoff low come off the shoreline here. Pretty good agreement here with the GFS and the Euro with that ridge building over the area. Offshore winds start across the region here. And you can see that ridge just kind of hang out. And then at the end, the European wants to have the polar lobe take a swing at us here at the very end of the run, as you can see there. GFS, a little bit different solution, but not that far off, just further east with this as it tries to develop a system here over the Gulf of Alaska too. We're getting a little far out there at this point, but right now, great model agreement here with this ridge and the offshore flow coming across the area here with a little potential for some colder weather through the extended. Now, taking a look here, this is 10-day precipitation anomaly, you can see the Pacific Northwest, just a huge deficit here as we're just going to shut the precipitation off after this storm system rolls through. So this is 10 days all the way out through December 20th, Tuesday morning here. And just look at this. I mean, we're usually getting some pretty wet systems here all the way from the Northern California coast through Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, all the way up to Southeast Alaska. We are going to shut the precipitation down, and you can see it in the GFS and the European here. Great agreement with a very dry period coming up here as this storm moves out of our area. Now, looking at Seattle, Tacoma, you can see the light winds initially coming here. Then we're going to stir up the atmosphere a little bit more here with some of that offshore gradient as we go through mid and later the following week here. So hopefully don't form too much fog as we go through Monday and Tuesday here, but we'll see how this develops here, and we'll see just how quickly these offshore winds can start to stir up the atmosphere a bit here across the region. Now, taking a look here, I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what kind of temperatures we can expect coming up here. So this is Monday morning. You can see the west side, west of the Cascades here, generally into the 40s here, some overnight lows into the 30s, maybe some refreezing of any moisture around on the outskirts of Seattle and Portland across the area. But you see, as you go east of the Cascades here, look at eastern Oregon, eastern Washington. There might be some melting and some refreezing in the overnight hours. So you got to be careful here. Look at eastern Oregon, pretty darn chilly as we go through mid-week. Some of these low temperatures here across eastern Oregon, Idaho, Montana, BC, Washington, as you see there. So if you want a little bit more warmth, go west of the Cascades, as you see there. Now, taking a look here, this is Seattle, Tacoma. You can see the storm system as it moves out. Then we start to get this big deficit of precipitation as we go through this upcoming week here. And then things start to get muddled as you look off into the future here. As always, when you start looking out this far into the ensemble range, you're going to get all kinds of different solutions here. Some are dry, some have some big precipitation events. Just depends on how the ridge breaks down and what kind of systems we start to bring into the area here. So right now, we'll just continue to watch that as we go, but a pretty good signal here for some a very dry period as we go up and through next weekend. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. You can see that below average signal here across the west. 8 to 14 day, a little bit different, but still similar here as we get below average temperatures across Washington, Idaho, Montana, and the 8 to 14 day range. This goes all the way up to December 23rd. Now look at the 6 to 10 day here. Look at this bullseye across Washington all the way through Oregon, Idaho, Montana there for that 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, which means Southern California might get some above average precipitation. That would be good for them, especially during a La Nina year. 8 to 14 day, pretty similar signal there. This goes through, again, December 23rd here, and an above average signal there for California. Now taking a look at the drought monitor here, is Western Washington still in some moderate drought. It is a short-term drought. It's just very interesting to see this during November and December, and we're moving into a dry period here now, so we're probably not going to kick this moderate drought anytime soon here across portions of Western Washington. Still has some abnormally dry conditions across Western Oregon too, but much more serious across the east slopes of the Cascades of Oregon. Exceptional and extreme drought still exists there. This is classified as a long-term drought now as well. You can see some of that extreme going through Montana, California as well as some exceptional all the way through central and southern California shown there. So hopefully these storms can start to help break this drought down a bit. Now taking a look here, backcountry avalanche forecast here. Let's back up one more frame. We'll show a wider view. High avalanche danger for the North Cascades, East Slope Central, West Slope South, including Mount Hood, high avalanche danger. Elsewhere, it's considerable. So heads up, you're going to the backcountry. It is not a good time to be out there, folks. Every single year, we get people that get seriously injured or killed in the backcountry by avalanches. So check out this site. It's very good. Might save your life someday if you are a backcountry traveler here. It gives a lot of good information, observations, forecast, tells you above the tree line, near, below the tree line, and tells you what kind of avalanche conditions you can expect. So great site there. Now taking our eyes towards ENSO, La Nina / El Nino. Currently, you can see basically we are in La Nina conditions shown here, but you see the probability of La Nina really tail off here. By the time we get to February, we're 50-50 with neutral conditions here. By the time we get to March, looks like neutral conditions are going to be taken over for a bit. But then look at El Nino start to try to flex its muscle here as we go through the summertime coming up. By the time we get towards August, we've got almost a 50-50 chance of being in El Nino conditions. And do not let your guard down. If we go into El Nino here, we can still get big windstorms, extreme flooding. The 2019 February snow event here across Pacific Northwest was an El Nino year. So just because we're going to neutral El Nino conditions does not mean we cannot get some pretty extreme weather here across Pacific Northwest. But just showing you things here, and when this comes to it, I will show you the odds and what kind of weather we can expect for a lot of the areas, as we are getting a pretty typical La Nina pattern here through so far here through November and December here across Pacific Northwest. So anyway, yeah, nice storm system going on right now. Watch out, heed all the National Weather Service warnings across the area. It's Sierra Nevada just getting hammered by wind and snow as we go. A very nice visualization of cold air spilling off the continent here and across the Pacific Ocean. So, but anyway, I'm back from Hawaii. The helicopter trip got canceled because of the volcano lessening its activity there, but I've got some connections down there now. The next time it goes, in the next 5 to 10 years or whenever that might be, I'll probably go down there and try to get on a helicopter again. But I did get some really cool footage of the fountain when it was at its peak, going up over 400 to 500 feet, shooting lava into the air there. I'll actually put this on a link here on the bottom left. You'll see it there, so you guys can click on it and watch that lava fountain shoot up. I was on the Saddle Road there on the Big Island kind of watching. That was very fun. Very nice trip. Highly recommend it if you ever get the chance to see an active volcano like that out in Hawaii. It is worth your while. So anyway, yeah, thanks to all my new members, subscribers. Click like, click your notifications on, and we'll do this again tomorrow. Glad to be home. Yeah, so we'll just continue to watch for that potential cold off into the extended forecast, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.